In this short video, we're going to discuss the primary differences between the male and female brain and how each develops. So pay close attention to the hormonal action as they relate to the development of a male versus a female brain. Here we have two diagrams, the female brain on the left and a male brain on the right. The hypothalamus itself is inherently female. The female brain has both surge and tonic centers of the hypothalamus, as you can see here. So here's the surge center, and then that little light green area there is the tonic center of the hypothalamus. And the male only has the tonic center of the hypothalamus. So let's start with the diagram on the left. And one of the key components to understand, and make sure you know this moving forward, is that a protein, alpha-fetoprotein, is actually what binds estradiol from the female fetus. So if you look at the diagram here, you'll see there's a fetal ovary here that's producing estradiol. That estradiol is then working its way toward the brain. And what you'll notice here is this alpha FP, this is alpha-fetoprotein, binds estradiol, okay, preventing it from, notice these little arrows here showing it kind of bouncing off this barrier. This small thin layer here, this is the blood-brain barrier. So alpha-fetoprotein binds to estradiol that's coming from the fetal ovary, preventing it from entering the brain. And because estradiol is prevented from entering the brain, the surge center develops. Okay, so the female brain, alpha-fetoprotein binds estradiol, preventing it from crossing the blood-brain barrier. Now, if we look at the male side, notice here, here's the brain, and then we have fetal testes that's producing testosterone. Okay, notice alpha-fetoprotein does not bind to testosterone. Thus, in the male, testosterone crosses this blood-brain barrier, okay, and is aromatized to estradiol, and that actually prevents the surge center from developing. We call that defeminization. Okay, so the surge center is defeminized. Key point here, though, this is testosterone. Testosterone is what is allowed to cross the blood-brain barrier, and then it's aromatized to estradiol. And that is what defeminizes the brain. So if you're asked what hormone, okay, causes the male brain or the surge center of the male brain to not develop, it's testosterone. And the reason, the mechanics behind that is because testosterone crosses that blood-brain barrier and is then aromatized to estradiol. Interesting note, we do know that it's continued exposure to androgens, the brain being exposed to androgens, that's important to prevent the development of the surge center. We know in castrated males, like a steer, for instance, they can develop the potential to essentially exhibit surges of GnRH, and that would be because, you know, once you remove the testes, there's no longer that constant androgen exposure to the brain. So again, continued exposure to androgens seems to be or appears to be important to the continued defeminization of the brain.